Hello and welcome. My name is Faye. I'm here from Your Heart's Path, and we're going to spend the next wee while having a look at the themes for September that we're going to be journeying collectively. So I utilize my channeling abilities, my clairvoyance, and my intimate relationship with my guides to have a bit of an overview as to what it is that we're working with for the month of September. And I share this with you to empower you on your spiritual journey, to help you cultivate some more self-awareness, but also some acceptance and some tools to move through this period with as much grace as we possibly can. And grace is a really interesting word and something that I feel like we're going to experience through the month of September. We're moving into a retrograde period, so my communication does get a little bit challenging through this period, so please forgive me if I stumble my words a little bit. We're not looking for perfectionism this month. We are looking at showing up to life, not worrying so much about how things look on the inside, but really working from the inside out to cultivate almost like a deeper relationship with life. And not just life, but your mission, your purpose. We start with putting these into little themes for you. And the first thing that we're going to travel through is this essence of longevity. So we're not in this for the quick game right now. We're not in this for fast results. There's a very internal plucking away. It's really about approaching each day as it comes. So one day at a time. Looking too far into the future at the moment can actually steer us off path, out of alignment, or feel overwhelmed. There's lots of small tasks to be done versus big grand projects. I feel like we are kind of weaving, almost like weaving a spider web. And if we start from one point and we start going over here to fix up this bit, and then we're zagging over here, then the orchestrated or the final piece of the web is scattered and cluttered. It can still be built, but it feels frustrating, and it's almost this trust that we kind of build one layer at a time. And that can be a trust in some of these universal themes in which we are going through that don't always feel really easy peasy. I've had a lot of personal messages come through in the last few days, people talking of feeling like a deep sense of sadness, almost like a sense of overwhelm with the emotional body, and just the toughness of being human in a time where it can feel really intense. It looks as though almost we have like a new timeline opening for the earth, which we are all connected to. It can feel like a new path altogether. There can be people almost second guessing, am I in the right career, in the right job, in the right relationship? Is this part for me? It all needs to be felt really deeply. We're not necessarily collecting data. We're moving through as we step with little bits of action, moving through this place where we are. It almost feels like emotional intensity. Acknowledge it, feel it, move it. Take little bits of action with an element of understanding to let it go. And letting go is so much easier said than done. You can actually feel this physically in the hands and the wrists, almost like cold hands, an element of, if you are feeling this or experiencing this physically, then the invitation would be to move into a space of like surrender, softness, relaxation, literally letting go, shake out your hands. Perhaps it's like integrating something like yin, stretching it out and really softening and moving into this place where you can create a little bit of safety with the discomfort of the emotions that feel a little bit more negative. But with this understanding that we're in it for the long game, we don't want to be in a space of stagnancy right now. So the emotional process and release and this element of surrender and letting go as we move is the way in which this feels like the path of ease and grace. If you are experiencing stagnancy, paralysis, feeling completely and utterly stuck, then ask for support. You can do this with your team. Something I do internally is I say, if I'm really struggling, I'll say 911, and I call upon the inner plane healing masters to please help. They're available to everybody, and you just lay down and you surrender and you ask them specifically what it is that you would like help with. You can feel into how long it is that you need to lay there. It might be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, and just go through the process. It can feel uncomfortable when we are moving through a place where reality is sort of shifting, but the only way is through, and we know this, we talk about it a lot. So to kind of stay on board, keep the mind on board so as that it doesn't go into sabotage mode or expect worst case scenario. We really are working with the unexpected and the unknown, is to make like little to-do lists. And you might make a weekly plan, and then by Tuesday it all looks completely different because the unexpected's come in and you've got to navigate and pivot. So I would almost suggest doing this of the evening before or the morning of, to just make a little list and make it as long as you feel. All those things that have popped in, I've got to do this and I've got to do this and I've got to do this, stick to it. It's like, this is your challenge, the daily living experiences. Showing up for, I want to say showing up for yourself, but showing up for life without expecting huge, big rewards initially. We will start to experience the manifestation of what we have let go, but probably not until sort of the 3rd week of September, where there feels like a little bit more lightness, but we have enough proof that in chipping away, the momentum can continue. Anything else that we've sort of missed here? I'm just having a little look at my notes. So water was actually a really beautiful element here, like water for cleansing, water for clearing, water for healing, whether that's in your meditation practice, whether you're actually visiting bodies of water, whether you are walking in the rain, whether you are communicating with the spirit of the water. That's something that on a daily practice to strengthen that relationship can really help with this element of flow. So we are gently chipping away with like one little strand of the web each day by showing up and kind of following what it is that we know to be true, with not really being able to see super clearly potentially right now. There can feel like a lot of fog, but in the fog, as you continue to move, what's right in front of you will present itself to you each day. And as it presents itself, we do this from a place of almost like an understanding that it doesn't always have to be really easy peasy put into pie. Part of this journey is really challenging. Part of this journey can be really uncomfortable. So we're in this next part, we're going to move into the theme of intentional feeling, but removing the judgment of our less than love or our negative emotional bodies. So it doesn't mean that just because this has risen to the surface that you are doing things wrong. It can actually be a collection of data, almost like a synchronicity that is showing you where we want to course correct right now, where things can be pivoted. And this can feel like relationships, it feels like jobs, it feels like old connections, it feels like routines that aren't serving you, and you know that they're not, but it's you're doing it anyway. Thoughts, procrastinations, entertaining old programming, addictions, all these other pieces that are like, when you know it's not serving you anymore, yet you continue to do it otherwise, it's almost, the feeling can be exacerbated to a point where you do feel stuck and stagnant. And then some of it can just feel like an element of patience. This feels really hard right now, but I'm going to get to a place. I know, I don't know what that looks like fully, but I am moving in the direction of my heart and my soul, because when I can self-soothe and settle into my heart space, the knowing arises. So claircognizance is going to be something that's really important this month, almost like the feeling body. It's very connected to our hearts, as we know. And there's this element of almost accepting some of the uncomfortable parts without latching on, and kind of knowing that you are moving through. You are moving through. And if you feel stuck, stagnant, you don't have the ability to feel these emotions, again, please get some extra support, because it feels pivotal that we are moving with some momentum at the moment. Finishing off old projects versus starting brand new ones right now might be a really beautiful thing. I know that that's an element of Mercury retrograde, but it does actually feel important. I would look at this almost like through my art books or things that I've said that I'm going to follow through and do, like prints. It's like, okay, it's time to get on the computer and actually finalize all of this, get the orders placed and done. It can free up space inside of the psyche, where all of these downloads that we've been receiving over the last, I want to say weeks on and off, to our absolute capacity, can start to trickle into the areas where all of our to-do lists are actually taking up space. And so this intentional feeling, if you are having a time that is feeling really, really intense, is kind of crucial. Really, really deeply relating with your emotional body from a perspective that you are safe to feel the things that can feel really challenging. Knowing that this builds, it's almost like the connection, this builds resilience to things that used to completely and utterly shut down your system. And you will notice the resilience straight away when you approach this from your heart. It's like, okay, it actually feels really freaking tough to go to work today, but I know that this is just temporary. I'm in this position because I'm on my way to move to a place where I can pay my bills and I can be in this role here. But I'm in the process. I'm doing all of this work behind the scenes to get to that place. So you can still arrive in your workplace and feel that sense of sort of sadness, but it's not necessarily that it's wrong. So identifying almost this feeling of like, identifying with your knowing, like, am I exactly where I'm meant to be? Asking that question to yourself, trusting your response in that space. I just want to try and connect this and bring it more flow, please. Thank you. And with this, we are less attached, meaning that we don't then trickle into the patterns of sabotage or distrust in what it is that you're creating, or you as a creator, or who you are as a human being. It's that we're moving through, and the feelings all have to be felt. They really do. They really have to be cycled through your body. So intentional emotional feeling would be really beautiful right now, through music, through dance, through meditative experiences, through being in nature. All of these things that are talked about, they are important. And you might feel like they start to get repetitive, but if you're not doing them, I would ask you why. Are you actually comfortable in the uncomfortable? Are you actually comfortable believing that it's not possible that you will achieve your dreams? Are you actually comfortable in poverty? Are you actually comfortable almost like self-punishing in a place where it's like you are affirming to yourself subconsciously that you're not good enough to achieve your dreams? This is where all these things can begin to shatter. And with this retrograde period where we're almost looking backwards, we will be dealing with what is now, but we'll be scraping up from the past those things that prevent us from moving forward with grace. When we look at finishing off projects, this can be things around the house as well. Keep it simple. It doesn't have to be big, grand things. You've been talking about finishing the fence painting, or you've been talking about getting your photos printed, or switching to organic produce, or, you know, making an extra couple of $100 a week so that you feel less stressed. These are all really important right now. So place your energy. Projects don't just have to be like things that you finish. I look at it because I relate to it in the form of, say, like art or creativity or service work, but it can be across the board. Our challenges can arise in those most simplistic experiences, like writing your to-do list and getting to the end of the day and going, oh shit, I didn't actually tick any of this off, and going into contemplation without judgment as to why. And then if your why is because you've realized that you're more uncomfortable in the uncomfortable, or it's a worth piece, then work with that, because we can't falsify like forward movement right now, but it is gentle steps, not big leaps. Anything I missed in there, please? When we can remove the judgment, it's almost like a sense of fearlessness arises in the body, which I love right now. And fearlessness can look a bit messy. It can look a bit sort of, whoo, here I am, you know, hair not done, makeup not done. I want to say like tick hanging out, but it's all like, it's all okay. We're not sort of going to get caught up in the bits that potentially might have stopped us from showing up in the first place. We're going to show up in the best way that we possibly can. I think that's fearlessness is a really beautiful thing. And that kind of brings up this element with the hands and the joints and these sorts of things, this ability to let go, or this to soften and surrender, to trust the universe, to trust yourself, to trust your inner knowing, creates a softness, the fear moves, and then the fearlessness arises. And from that, I feel like this wild woman archetype, or, you know, that would be something that would be very powerful right now. Not so much in a, like a thrashing around and like on a hunt, but more of this like in tune with nature's cycles. In the same way that those animals live in places where it can be snowing for a season and it can be really bright and sunny for another. They don't really, probably not dreading the winter season in the moments where it's nice and bright, but they are getting organized. They're popping food away if they need to. They're feeding themselves so that they can go into a place of slumber. And it's sort of the more in tune we are with nature and her cycles as a mirror or a reflection, and our own cycles, and the acceptance of the periods that feel a bit more uncomfortable, the less attached we are to the outcome anyway. And then we are in synchronicity, where we start to experience those positive synchronicities versus the affirming ones that feel more like negative synchronicities. I do want to touch on business and work. When I say business and work, this might be in an environment where you're working for somebody else. This could be you creating your own business. This can be, often I see that with someone on like a soul path or on a mission. You are part of their creating and bringing something through that is new. If you're not quite there yet, it's perfectly fine. You can still experience this as a mother or a father, or the roles in which we're in, where I know that's not business and workplace, but your like daily living, your purpose, your mission, what it is you're bringing through that's new and unique. I want to touch on this today. It's not a theme that I would always have a look at, but it does feel like it needs there's some much needed attention here. Some of you are getting like a break right now because of the catch-up period that we've previously spoken of. And this invitation for gently chipping away in your own time is really important, but it might be that things have become very quiet for you. So clients might not be coming in. It sort of can feel like it amplifies this element of financial stress. If financial stress is something that's been a part of your journey and your learning, then this is a really great time to start to debunk some of those belief systems and go with the feeling of what abundance is for you. What does it feel like to be able to pay your bills with ease, to be able to take a holiday, to be able to eat organic food, all of these things where we place limitations on ourselves in the form of abundance, but really simplifying it so that we're being realistic. So if you say you made $50,000 last year and your goal this year is to make $1 million, it might be that you need to be more realistic with your jumps. So maybe it's that you make 100,000 next year, you double it, or you make an extra 10,000. It's sort of, it's funny that we're looking at this through like a financial lens, but it almost is this, I want to say like a bridging of the gap between and a debunking of the collective belief systems around spirituality being something where you can't earn money through, or being on your mission and your purpose means that there's never enough financial reward, and it's vibrational. Trust these quieter periods. Trust the quieter periods. If you are really, really stuck, it's almost like, do you ever really get to a point where you can't pay your bills, or you're on your own, or there is no support around you? I kind of want some of those debunked if necessary. Take the action. You know, even if you don't feel that huge element of inspiration right now, put your things out there and see what happens. There's no, I'm not this from this place of like, I'm doing this so as that I can get this. It's like, I'm just going to show up. I'm going to show up and keep doing what it is that I'm doing, because I'm in tune enough with my own rhythm to know that when I pluck away at this, I give the universe an opportunity to work through me. And again, that's the rest period doesn't always need to be stagnancy. It can be a refinement thing, an opportunity to actually go in and sort of, I want to say, move some of the bits that aren't working. Less about crowd pleasing and this outside stuff than it is to how you actually feel when you show up to your mission, when you show up to your purpose, when you show up to your role that you're currently in. It's really like this day by day, humanizing your experience and almost like befriending where you are at right now, knowing full well that if things are feeling really uncomfortable, there's just a bit of work to be done in this space. So letting go of the pettiness, letting go of the perfectionism, letting go of all of these expectations that things should be otherwise helps us, again, let go, suffer, surrender, and allow for kind of like miracles to happen and occur. And I do see that happening towards the end of September. If the break period is here and things are quiet for you, rest when you need to. Go into deep self-care, go into reflection, journaling, all of these things that keep us connected to ourselves and those around. If you are quiet but you feel like you want to give, then have a look at new ways of giving. And sometimes when we're feeling a little bit flat, it's actually really nice to be generous, to activate this element of generosity and to give to other where you can. As we are all connected, right? I like this. I wrote unfulfilled dreams to come to light. So if there's like no future vision right now and you are kind of just managing your day to day, but it feels okay and there's a contentment there, yet this element of unfulfillment. So contentment wouldn't be the right word. Can we remove that, please? It's almost like it's okay, like you could just do it if you wanted to, but there's an element of almost like unfulfillment arising in that place. Then I really do feel like can be like light bulb moments for people right now. Oh shit, it's that thing that's holding me back. Oh my gosh, that's where I really want to be going. Yes, that's the place that I want to be living. Yes, that's the relationship I'm going to deeply commit to. It's like they can come up really almost like a boom, instantaneous, miraculous download. it can feel quite high for half a day, and then the action might come from more of a meditative, almost neutral space. But please follow those things through, as I feel like there is actually reward. It might just not be immediate. So for those of you who are having a quiet patch with work, how could you look at this from God's perspective? How could you approach this with grace? What would you say to your daughter? What would you say to your mother? What would you say to your best friend? And how can you approach this from a place of fearlessness? Fearlessness in knowing that your daily little action steps actually mean more than the huge big leaps and bounds right now. Relationships was another theme that they brought through. So we're just going to have a really kind of a little bit of an overskirt with this. It's transition time within relationships. I don't need to talk about which relationships. It'll either resonate with you or it won't. And that can be the case with some of this. Some parts might resonate and others might not. So that's okay. Please just allow that to be as it is. But it's the transition, feeling like discomfort, but moments and depths of deeper intimacy than you've ever experienced before. This can be with your guides as well. I really want to bridge and connect this to the esoteric realm. If you've been talking to your guides for months, but you've not really felt the exchange or the closeness there, it sort of feels like that relationship can be strengthened right now through this period of transition. But the discomfort can arise in the way that we communicate, the way that we're intimate with one another, the things that are unsaid. So energy communicating beyond just the physical. It's like we're quite psychic right now, picking up on other people's thought forms, reactions, discomforts in their own body. So maintaining your own energetic hygiene, taking space for alone time is going to be really important. So like the silence, being able to feel your own energy in your own body. As when we become more psychic, more aware, the energy expands. It can start to feel a little bit confusing as to what's ours and what's not. So sometimes it's nice just to put yourself in an environment where you're not directly connected to anybody else and you can just feel yourself, deepening your relationship to your own inner heart, to your own spirit, to your own soul. Grace is what comes from this place when we can accept that we're in a transitional period. It means that what we're experiencing right now might not be how it's always going to be. So it's almost like that I almost want to say like walking to the summit in some way. The environment actually changes as we move through. It's not going to be the same as it gets to a different plane of existence or experience. But again, it's almost that like transition period. As we do go through that, we're going to experience lots of different things. So some days it might feel great and really easy. And then some days it's really challenging. You think, fuck, I've got to get out of here. Or please just be patient with all of this, because the less kind of control we try and have over this, and the more honesty and grace we can bring into our experiences, where we know that we're showing up as our best selves or doing the work to show up in as much truth and understanding as we possibly can with ourselves and with other, the more or the less attachment created, but the more peace and resilience we sort of build inside of our inner relationships as well. Resilience, not quite the right word. Could we bring something else in there, please? It's almost like acceptance for the other people and where they're at in their journey. I feel like there's been almost like a merging that's happened this year on and off for those who you are close with, or like a blending of paths that can feel like, and then it kind of gets separated really quickly, and then it feels like, oh gosh, I'm losing this relationship. And then there can be this like invitation to come back, and it's not necessarily riding the same wave, it's the same ocean, but you are doing your own thing. There's a little bit more of a complementary energy coming through with relationships, but have some stamina here. Invite some stamina into this place. Mercury retrograde can bring up challenges inside of relationships and communication. So I would suggest just periods of alone time and silence. So whether that's actually almost feels like, I want to say like out of the house, go into a place that's quiet like nature and just sit and be. Ask yourself, how am I? And just sit, allow for your energy to recalibrate. The more we can just allow for the natural body and being to like come into equilibrium in those places through our breath, through our own presence, the more empowered we will actually feel, the more that the grace can actually arise, the less we are trying to control things that are outside of our control. Utilizing the physical and the mental body through this lens with relationships is going to be your biggest compliment as well. So physical exercise, releasing, strengthening your body physically, looking at your health, what you're feeding it, how are you sleeping, all of these basic routines, but specifically around movement. So really bringing this into your routine now if you are not. It is so important for grounding. It's so important for strengthening. It allows for a release. There are so many elements to this on an energetic perspective that almost stimulate that element of fearlessness, and they're like, it's all good, like I got this, and I feel comfortable and at home in my body, and I trust myself and I hear myself, and there's a positive flow on effect from that. So please, if you're not already physically moving, do so. Start with gentle walking if you need to, but something. It's not something I feel like we can bypass on this journey. It is a part of our taking care of our physical body. The other part to this is the mental side. So, you know, physical movement and meditation are kind of two things that I feel like eventually we just kind of surrender and accept as part and parcel, and the relationship to those strengthen and they build over time, and it becomes something you end up really looking forward to. So I would really look at the mental side of things, and it's necessary. It just is necessary for quality of life as well, for more resilience, for less attachment. And this inner strength is cultivated. It really is. And I know that fatigue and exhaustion and tiredness can be a theme when we're downloading, when we're going through retrograde period, but actually you can energize yourself through movement at the moment. Moving on. Spiritual well-being. I've taken notes today, as I always do. I make a little bit of a blueprint, but I knew that I was going to need to refer back to this as the pre-shadow retrograde stuff. It's I can get off on tangents. I really want to stay nice and focused. But the spiritual well-being, they spoke about purge. All of these themes are very interconnected today. You can almost look at one and see the same thing through all aspects of our life. But the purge is igniting a sense of bravery to go to places that you've never been before, to take those little risks, to finish your to-do list and see how you feel at the end, to expect the unexpected versus going, well, if I do it that way, then this is my outcome. Let go of the outcome part. It's just today. That's all we have right here, right now. It is just today. And if we can approach today from this place of gratitude, from compassion, from love, from acceptance, from trust, then the next day it's in this vibration, and the next day it's in this vibration, the next day it's in this vibration, and all of a sudden we're living in a life where this theme and this current is something that's really strong and it's flowing through us all the time. So not something that we need to constantly work at. The piece with this, it's almost like I want to say, like, be aware of self-destructive behavior. This is still not a great time to be going out and getting shit-faced, I don't believe. And sobriety would be a really beautiful lens if you are struggling and you're not taking very good care of yourself and your spiritual well-being feels really shattered. Sobriety is a really beautiful initiation into the depths of your being, where we can identify some of these patterns and these mechanisms that are activated when we choose to escape versus feeling them. Not to say that all of those substances are about escape, but to be able to do this naturally, to be able to do this from an organic place, to know that you have the resources inside of you versus needing to numb out, knowing that you could go and stretch for half an hour or eat something beautiful to nourish your body. It sort of feels like a different, it cultivates an element of like strength that is unwavering no matter what is going on. And we are going to need to get tougher. We are going to need to get stronger. And this stronger, this resilience is here for a reason, because things, although it will feel like it's speeding up and slowing down, the intensity of what we're feeling emotionally and energetically, it feels like we're in this for a bit of a long run. So especially energetically, we're on this path to raising the vibration, so we become more sensitive. So there's no bypassing these layers of discomfort, but also in voiding taking care of the self. We will only expand to the capacity of how we can hold ourselves in that place. And so This does lead to a higher place, but don't get caught up on the higher place being a better place. We want this space here right now to feel natural, to feel true, to feel in alignment. And that's the place that we work from. Even if we are consciously creating our future, or we're in a space of manifestation, we don't do that from fear or panic or from self-destruction and self-sabotage. So this can be having a look at how you are talking to yourself, what practices you're doing for your energetic hygiene. Are you leaving energy and room to balance yourself in the morning before you go about your day? You're allowing your day to unfold and then needing to kind of catch up for 2 hours in the afternoon because you've been bombarded with things that are unnecessary. So it's almost, I want to say, like, this month we are building resilience. That's how I kind of want to sum this month up. We are building resilience through the challenges that come our way, yet can we approach this from a necessary place of evolution? This is where we pivot. This is where we make the changes to do this from grace, not unattached or detached, but unattached. So not detached, unattached to the outcome, unattached to how we think things should be, and really, really trusting the flow. You know, it's almost like become the water. The water doesn't think about what it does when it washes up on the shore. It just kind of flows. The river, it moves through all different places. It's never in the same place at the same time. It's part of something bigger. It's part of a collective of little particles of water that move and they shift depending on how the land has sort of been carved out. And we go through different stages. The water freezes, you know, it can become steam. It can become a huge big wave. It can be quite tumultuous. It can be really still and peaceful. It can actually be stagnant. Anything else? No, I'm going to leave this there. I feel like it's come to a bit of a close. Kind of keep it nice and simple for this month. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I'd really love to be interacting with you guys a little bit more. I'm aware that there's quite a few people coming here and watching these every month, but I only know a handful of you. So yeah, just drop a little line, say hello. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them on here. You can find me on Instagram as well at Your Heart's Path. I am open for readings if you need a little bit of guidance or some very more specific personal tools at this time. Anything else? No, that's it. I love you. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you for October. Is that right? October. We'll see you then. Mwah.